Hi everyone, today I'm gonna show you how to create date table in Power BI by using Power Query Editor. So you can create it by using DAX language, or you can do it by using Power Query Editor. So let's have a look at the example how you can create it in Power Query Editor. Okay, we're gonna start with creating a start and end date for the date table. We're gonna do it by creating a new parameter. Start date is the first parameter, and we need to select that as a date data type. And in the current selection, we'll add the start of the year when we want it to start. So I'm gonna use 2018. Remember that your date table need to span the whole year in order for DAX time intelligence functions to operate correctly. We're gonna create an end date, but that's just gonna be a placeholder because we want to make it dynamic so that end date is always changing, so that we don't have to in future come back to it and change. So that's the start and end date, and end date is just a placeholder. So that's what I mean by making a dynamic date table. Now let's create a new query and select blank query. This is the actual query where we're gonna start creating the date table. And now in a source, get rid of this quotation and start typing list dates. List dates is a function that generates a list of dates, and it requires 3 arguments. The first argument is start date, when you want the list to start, and then the second one is how many rows you want to generate. So let's start with 10, but that's just a placeholder. We're gonna change that. And now finally, it's asked for the step. And step, it's the increment. So by how often do you want to generate the every new row. So in our case, it's going to be every day. So one row equals 1 day. So we're going to use function called duration. It accepts 4 arguments. First is number of days, so it's 1, number of hours 0, number of minutes 0, and number of seconds 0. And that is it for now. Let's just check to make sure that it's working. Let's click done. And as you can see, we have generated 10 records from 1st to 10th of January. However, we want to increase this list until 31st of December. We have opened Advanced Editor, and we're gonna replace these 10 with a function that's gonna help us to generate a difference between start date and end date of our parameters. This function is duration days. We need to enter end date and deduct start date. Let's see what that gives us. And if we sort it in descending order, we can see that we've got the list. However, it ends not on 31st of December, it ends on 30th of December. That's easy to fix. We just need to add one more day at the end of this duration days function. And let's just check again. Yep, now it's been generated correctly. So this is good. However, it is fixed table, right? So it starts in 2018 and ends in 2013. How to make it dynamic so that the end date is always dynamic, so we don't have to go and fix it later on. For that, we would replace this part, actually just this part, with a set of functions that's gonna help us to generate dynamic end date. Let's try to do that. Let's get rid of end date. The main function that we're gonna use for that is called date time local now. What it will do, it will give us date and time as of now. However, what we need is just date, not time. So we'll use date from function to get date from date time local now function. So that's gonna give us just the date. Let's see if that works first, and then we'll continue on working on that. Let's slot in missing number. So today is 26th of September, and that's correct. It is working. Okay. However, what if our maximum date is not actually for today? Let's say we have some forecasting doing in Power BI. So, and let's say in some instances, our forecasting for the next 10 years. So how do we increase the end date from today's date to the by adding 10 years from today? So let's try to do that. So we can do that by using date add years. But apart from adding 10 years, what we also want to do, we want to make sure that our last year contains all the days within the year, because that's the prerequisite for DAX time intelligence function to work properly, so that the whole year. So for that, we'll use another function inside, which is a date grab year from date time local now. Because date accepts 3 arguments: year, month, and day. So we starting with year. Now we are adding by hard coding month, which is December, and we add 31st of December as a date. Okay, so let's recap here. So we are getting a date time local now. So that helps us to get a date time as of right now. Then we use date year function to grab a date year from date time local now. Then we hard coding the date by using the date from the current year. We're hard coding month and day of the month. So that's gonna give us last day in the current year. Now we're using add years function to add years from today. So let's do that. Let's skip to the next line and add 10. So what that is gonna do, it's gonna add 10 years from the current year. Okay. Let's include some explanation with comments here. We are getting the end date starting from here, and that end date is equal current year plus 10 years. Okay, now at this line here we are getting current year, and at that line here we are we are adding 10 years from to the current year. That's what we are doing, right? And once we've got this, which is going to be, the result of that is going to be 31st of December 2034, because current year is 2024. So we are adding 10 years from current year. Bracket here. Okay, now it has been generated. We don't need to sort it, but now the next step is to convert that into a table, because currently it's a list. That's the data structure that we are working with currently, but we need to convert it into a table with a single column. Once you click convert to table, it will ask you select delimiter, keep it as a default setting, so none, and how to handle extra columns, show as errors. So we don't have extra columns, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's just click OK. Now it has been converted into a table. Let's just change the name of the column to dates and convert the data type to a date. It's also a good idea now to change the name of the query to dates. And what we also can do, we now can get rid of that and date parameter because we're no longer using it. And from here, it's actually a lot easier to create additional columns. We're going to start by using the interface of Power Query. Select the dates column, go to Add Columns, find Date menu, click on it, and start from there by adding the columns that you need in your calendar table. So typically you would use year, then you might need to add a quarter, and keep going with that. Add a month, select date, add name of the month, select date, add day of the month, and we might also need day of the week. This is quite common to use, and name of the day. And that's it. Now you've got this date table created. If required, you can continue on building on this table by adding new columns depending on your need. But that's calendar table ready for the use. And the good thing about this, because it's in Power Query, it's actually easy to reuse it in future and share with other people. So go to Advanced Editor, Control A, copy everything, and once you create a new Power BI project, you can just copy that and reuse the same table, so you don't have to recreate it once again.